What up? I'm Josh Paulson, a professional game programmer, but I wasn't always, and I'm going to tell you today about some of my filthiest hacks from one of my early game projects, the Smile Squad. Roll the intro. I can only stare that way for so long with a smile before it gets creepy. Roll the intro. Roll the intro. What are you doing? Where are all the intro? What does that even mean? Man, this isn't... It worked before, and now I just have to call it manually. Yeah, you know that thing where your thing is working, your software, and then you show it to your boss, and it's like, it's not working, I'm sorry, or your PowerPoint is just suddenly broken. Sorry. That's right. That's what happens. Oops, sorry. So let me show you the Smile Squad and stop the music that I just started immediately because there's music in the game. So the Smile Squad was an early game project that I couldn't complete for a few reasons. One of them is because I had to write for loops, and I didn't know how to do that. And also I got obsessed with getting minecart physics working, and I couldn't figure it out. And so rather than drop that part of the game, I was just like, I just can't make the game, even though that was for like a one-time level. So I made some big mistakes in this game. And also I liked making cutscenes. Now I'm like, please, cutscenes are not what make games. Oh, this is... So, I'm gonna skip ahead to the main gameplay. I'm trying to remember, how old was I when I made this? I was actually working on it with a friend. He made the music. I could jump into the options. I could change the background quality, high, medium, low. I love... Okay, so it's weird. I loved working on like options menus and stuff like that. I still kind of do. Full screen, on, off, help text box, on, sound effects, on, music volume. Oh, this is so helpful. Loud, loudest, that's... Although there is one thing that I got here that I am still kind of a fan of the thought of, and that is that when it comes to music volume and sound effects volume, you generally only need one of them, because as long as you can set them relative to each other, then you're good. Smash Bros. Brawl did this. I think it was in Brawl that they started doing it, where they actually had a slider where it was like music volume and SFX volume, and it was just a slider that made them relatively change. I thought about doing that for if you had like dialogue as well, like making some sort of triangle and then you move a little dot between them. Maybe people would hate that, but anyway, those are some of the things that I think about. You right click in order to go back to the menus, and I don't know why more games don't do that, because it's really nice. Anyway, let's go back in here. Oh yeah, we got treasures. You can get all these collectibles in the game. I have all these pages that are like lore pages that you can collect. CDs, which are the different music tracks. Oh, you can get the title screen track while you're on the title screen. Why do games do that? Why did I do that? I don't know. It's a thing that people do. DVDs, these were basically things that I made with a pivot stick figure animator, and so I just had these GIFs playing. Aha, I'm glad I found that collectible. Cheat codes? Oh, this doesn't go anywhere yet. Here you can see your collections of treasures. Left click to go on the map. Okay, I'm gonna go to the map. Okay, so let's start this game. Let's actually look at, now this isn't the actual beginning of the game because there's a cutscene and stuff. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So, you can see around here, you're going around, you're collecting gems. There's a lot to this game actually, especially for an early game project. At some point, I want to remake this and make it polished, but let me tell you some of the filthy, dirty, gross, disgusting hacks that no programmer should ever do and I should be ashamed of ever doing. And oh no, I must not be legit because I did this when I was like 12. So, part of the reason I'm sharing this is because if you find that you don't know how to solve things the right way and you're doing filthy, dirty hacks, honestly, it's great when you can get something working. One of the things that I think about is that Notch can get a bunch of crap at times for making Minecraft in Java, but at the same time he made Minecraft, and so he could have not made Minecraft? Is that worth it? Some people might say so in certain situations, but I struggle with that. So anyway, you can place blocks, and so this forms a wall, and so you end up turning around at the wall, and you can place a block, and you jump up on the block, and oh, and so this lets you create stairs and stuff like that, and so you can make your way up to the exit. That's how you beat a level. But I also have a bunch of collectibles throughout every level because I liked collectibles, so I'm gonna restart this level. I've already collected them, so you're not really gonna see the fullness of this. Actually, no, why don't I just go to the menu and actually show you a legit playthrough, and I'm not going to play through the whole thing, but erase, let's... What a beautiful little menu. If you do not wish to delete your data, right click the mouse or left click on erase again. Okay, I do wish to delete map. And now I got a cutscene. Can I skip this? I really hope I can skip this, because it's not good. Okay, good. Okay, so you see there's a page there. Press the left mouse button to place blocks. Well, thank you, disembodied text box. Now, I will say I'm more of a fan of that like the text box up. Is it just saying that over and over again? I got a page, got the character bios, King Smile page. Okay, or not bios, character bios. Anyway, so with this, you're grabbing these collectibles. Okay, collect gems to increase your scores. So there's some different information up there. I do prefer this over like just a lengthy tutorial thing. That's honestly in my mind the worst way you could do things. But anyway, you see that there's the sun here. Okay, boop, whole screen goes dark. Move it, and you can get a CD. I like that I did little things like this. Honestly, I like these kinds of things. And then you just get a song for it. And it's like, well, where's the DVD? I don't know. And I kind of had a similar setup for finding these different items. Like DVDs would generally be hidden in the walls, so I can go here. Oh, I don't have enough blocks. Better remove some from the bottom, move them up here, and now I can go into here, and maybe I'll find something. Found the DVD. So yeah, I was doing some different things like this. It was cool, but how did I actually do the movement? Because if you look at the movement, it's like, okay, so, you know, you've got your character, you must be moving them along a vector. Well, there's this kind of weird, like, curved jump, so maybe you have a little path that you're doing or something like that. Like, I'm not sure. What are you doing? Let me see. Does this game have pausing? No, it has quitting. Okay, let me jump back into that, and let me explain how the Smile Squad's movement worked. I need to pull this back into here. So, first I'm going to explain a little bit in case... some people might not, watching this might not be familiar with some of the terminology. So there's what are called sprites, and sprites are your graphics. So if you look at my character here, Ore, as we saw in the opening cutscene, terrible name, it's just hero backwards. Why did I do that? I've been criticized for not being good at naming things for stories. At least, well, yeah. Anyway, so we got the hero here, right? And you're moving around. Okay, you must have some sort of movement vector, right? Like, and so that's how it's handled. Wrong. It's with sprites. And so sprites are basically your images. So a sprite is all the different frames. So you see the, you see how we have the character and you have the eye closing and kind of in these different states. Each of those different frames, if like partially closed, fully closed, those are different sprites. Each of these graphics up here, the hourglass, the gem, these are all different sprites. So sprites, just an image. Now, if you have a series of images played in rapid succession, then you get sprite animation. And so if you think of like a, I think I have, do I have a sticky notepad here? Dag nabbit, it's a perfect example for it. Like if you think of a flip book, I'm gonna grab something here. Like, okay, so if you think of a little flip book, where you like flip through and you've got all the different frames on it and all that. Was a terrible example, but that's kind of what you're doing. You're just showing the different sprite frames in rapid succession, and then you get animation. Now, normally you might think, okay, so this character, you're moving them along the chain. No, I'm not. I'm not actually physically moving the character, except when they reach their destination. Here's what I have in this game. I have a series of, like each of the sprites I think is 32 by 32 as a base. So I have a wide sprite. So I'm just gonna kind of close this out here. So you got a character going from the left to the right. Every time the character jumps to the right, they're actually in a sprite that is again, I think it's 64 pixels wide. And what I do is that I have the movement animation of the moving from one spot to another. And so this is one sprite, right? They technically, their position is still the same. It's just a sprite showing them move over. And then when they reach the end of the sprite, I play a landing animation and I jump them over 32 pixels. And then when they go to move again, it's the same thing. They're starting from that new position. That's right. That's right. All right, jumping back and forth. Start from this new position. Play a sprite, but technically their XY position is still here. The sprite is animating over 64 pixels or 32 pixels over. And then I jump them over here and I play the animation. Now, that's not a great way to do it. There's different issues with collisions. You know, if they run into something on the way, or if there's a particle that tries to hit them on the way, if there's a spike that could hit them on the way, that doesn't work. And so I got around this a few different ways. One of them was that I only had like obstacles that really couldn't land on you. I think I tried to have some of the other stuff working, but it didn't work out well. You could cheese it a little bit, but not great. I ended up basically building the whole game like that. So for every character's movement, I had to create this set of movement sprites horizontally like this. So sprite moves, we jump the character to a new position, sprite moves, jump the character to a new position, sprite shows movement, jump the character to a new position. Now, of course, that's not just with horizontal, because you don't just have horizontal, right? What else do you have? Well, you have vertical, you have jumping upstairs, right? So you got this. So every time that you jump up, that's also another animation. Isn't this beautiful? Don't you see how great this is? And so as you're going up and down the stairs, you have an animation that is now 64 by 64, right? So you have a sprite that is 64 by 64. You take the character, you in the sprite animate them moving to here, and then when the sprite finishes playing, you play a landing, you jump the character over here and you play a landing animation, and you figure out what you do from there. Now, okay. Now we've got left-right movement, and we've got jumping. What about falling? Well, of course you also need a falling animation, right? So, okay. So for falling, we have another sprite that is taking you from the top. This one would be a 32 by 64 sprite. You start up here and you move down here. And so that, I think there's a little bit of hitching that you can actually see as it keeps looping the sprite and jumping the character when you fall far enough. But yeah, that's how I did falling. And so this is not a good way to solve this problem. It works, and I will say that there could be contexts where this is the best way to solve this problem. So for me to say this isn't the best way to solve this problem, there may be contexts where where that is the most practical way. In my context, it really wasn't. What I could do instead, and what I believe that I did in the future, was that I calculated a parabola that would take me between spots, and so I would have the little bounce with it, and then I would also I would have the character jump to a grid position just to make sure that they were on that snapped position and move forward. And so you've actually got a character object moving around. Now, when did I actually try implementing that? It wasn't until, and I just found this before recording this, which was great, smilesquadnew.exe. So here, this is just a, let me see if this actually will show up over here. Okay, great. So this is just a very rough demo. Let me see, does this refresh? Can I restart this? Is there any button that restarts it? Did the demo just end? Do I have to like restart this whole thing? I might, okay. Oh, dang, I have to click every time? I can't just hold, that's no good. Anyway, here is, let me just try to block the character in so that I can actually show you this demo. So here it is with actual movement. I believe in this case, I got rid of the sprites movements. And so of course this results in far fewer sprites because now I just need to have the characters moving left and right. Or all that I need for animations for sprites is I have a character landing and then I have them in a not landed position. And of course there's death and some other things, but that makes it a lot simpler. Now there are different issues with this that I was running into. And that is if you look at the original Smile Squad, there are some very odd movements when jumping onto a platform. So let's look at this. So we're jumping up onto this, right? Woo! Trying to get that positioning right is kind of weird. And so what you'll actually see with the original Smile Squad is that the way that the characters moved, they moved in this very odd shape. Come on, won't you let me shift this? Okay, there we go. Why won't you get bigger? Okay, I guess this is just a limitation of that. So what you would actually see is that inside of the original Smile Squad, you're kind of starting here, and then you're like moving up, and you're curving around. It's a very odd look. It's more like you've got a square that you're moving along with a bit of a rounded edge. You're going up, whoop. And in this case, it is more correct, but it's also a little bit funky. And so this is honestly something that I think I fought with for way too long, was trying to figure out, how do I get bouncing to feel good? And you actually notice that all of these platforms that I'm placing here are half blocks. And that is a part of getting around that. Discord, shut up. Not shut up to anybody who messaged me in Discord, but Discord can shut up. Okay, so I use these half blocks to try to get around this issue so that I don't hit it. Because as you can see, actually these full blocks, the full block, it would collide with me. I would not be able to jump up underneath this. So this was me trying to work around that because I had the characters filling up a lot of space. And so really, for a redesign of this game, I would need to figure out something that is a lot cleaner. Perhaps I would still do some weird pathing stuff, or perhaps it'd be, okay, if you can jump up, then I move the character up, and then I move the character over. There are different hacks that I could use for that. If I really care a lot about the spacing and having it so that it feels like you are in a block gap, like let me show you back to the Smile Squad EXE. It is funky, but it did solve this problem of like the physics aren't really right. If I jump back into here, and we take a look at, I'm just gonna throw this into here. Okay, I really should have added some debugging tools. Okay, you know what? Maybe there's another level that's better for this. You know what? It's fine. Okay, so let's just do that. Okay. So let's say that we do this, okay? So you can see that you kind of move between these block positions very cleanly. It's a little bit weird, but it's functional. That means something, right? Yeah, so you jump up through here, you jump back down through there, you like move right, you fall down, that works, but then you have this very odd like rising up. And so it kind of solved the problem. I don't think that I solved it in the best way, but it did kind of solve the problem. And so I'd say that this is probably the dirtiest early hack that I've done. There's a lot of different dirty hacks that I did when I was starting off in game dev and trying to figure things out. And I will say that sometimes dirty hacks are just the quickest way to get something out, or if you're prototyping, it can just let you make something and get it pushed out. Sometimes it's just the fastest thing to do. This is one where the biggest gripe that I have with it as a prototyping setup is that it is very slow to prototype because you have to make all these sprites, right? You have to make these sprites of moving across, moving up and over. So that was the best way I could figure out to cleanly make the movement work. So if you find yourself in a position where you're like, I am not sure how to do this right, but I know how to do it wrong, and I can do it wrong. Let me encourage you that number one, you kind of have to start there. You can learn from some different people. That saying you have to start there is very strong terminology, but honestly, learning how to be resourceful, even if you know it's not the best solution, that's not a bad skill to have. If you're like, okay, I know this isn't optimal, I'm not sure how to get to the optimal way, but I can do this. Sometimes it's just best to do that and move forward. In this case, I was able to make a pretty substantial game. I didn't finish it because, again, I got stuck on minecart and for loops of all things. I can show you where it breaks, actually. I think if I go into here... Oh, here we go, yeah. So you see lever wall red. If arrow equals 90, unknown variable arrow. That's not even like... Okay, is this really... Why is this the error of all things? So I was trying to for loop, I think, through a bunch of different levers to see if spikes should move up or down. My guess is that the levers were not created yet, and so the spikes would fail. And the arrow was the direction of the arrow to turn a lever on or off. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. This is really janky. If you just look at this, it's a little bit weird. And yeah, that's a failing error there. So anyway, that is my earliest dirty hack. Do you have an early dirty hack that you did? Do you have something that maybe you still kind of think is sort of cool? Like, there's a part of me where I honestly look at that hack and I'm like, you know what? It did solve a few problems, like being able to move through really tight spaces cleanly. I don't think it's the best solution. It's not a solution I would do again, but for figuring things out, for being uncomfortable with some of the basics of code at that point, it got me going. It gave me a step forward. And so that's where there's a part of me where I kind of respect the ability to do the dirty hacks, as long as you do them purposefully and you know their limitations and you consider the time, because dirty hacks can destroy a project long term or just really slow you down and cause a lot of problems. I've heard some pretty hilarious stories about different code bases. And yeah, I've also seen some problems. When they're on your code base, it's sad. When they're on somebody else's code base, it's funny. Anyway, let me know some of your dirtiest hacks in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, and if you got any links to the projects where you use those dirty hacks, feel free to post them. Maybe you got an itch game or something like that. And I hope they have a fantastic rest of your weekend. If you're interested in keeping up with this kind of content, then please subscribe. And let me know if you like hearing these kinds of stories, or these early, I guess you could call them my war stories. That feels very dramatic to me, but as I was learning game dev, what were some of the things that I was doing? What were my thought process? And even what were some of the benefits of those peculiar approaches, I'll say. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.